coming in live from London. From London,
London, England.
London,
England.
London,
Yes,
England.
we've been celebrating our VE Day yesterday.
You're what?
Our
What day?
VE Day, Victory in Europe Day.
Oh, is that what's today? There, Victory in
Yeah, it's
Europe.
18th anniversary yesterday. So there's a bank holiday here. There's a big fly past of all the military planes and all the rest. It was very nice. Anyway, not great weather this
Victory
weekend, but
in
anyway.
Europe Day. That is that
Victory
like
in Europe.
World War II? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, is it that? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Does it like rub it in the face of the Germans? I mean, is it not kind of
Yeah,
down
well,
in
I
Europe?
think they're okay about it. I mean, they got over
Oh,
it.
they are. I would be like,
I'm Irish. We
please
don't
get
get
over
involved with
this.
wars. We don't get involved with wars. Yeah, us and the Swiss, we just don't go there. We're all good. Just carry on with bills.
Ah, too funny. Too funny. All right. Well, we're going to talk about, because this is Paul's favorite subject. We're going to talk about the orange fella. Is that you wanted to talk about the orange fella? All right. So
The orange fella in the big White House, or the big gold house. Yeah, he hasn't had a covered in gold leaf yet, has he?
No, he hasn't.
Not the gold house yet, no.
I know, and it's like, if he's got gold sneakers, might as well have a gold house. Like, why not?
I think so. Suit his personality.
He's breaking all the other traditions. Might as well take the White House, paint it pink or something.
Yeah. Gold plated.
Go plated for sure.
Yeah.
So,
but it's having a big. I mean, I think since I was last on, I've been traveling a lot. I've been over in Hong Kong with the UK government on a trade mission, and over in China. And wow, it was amazing. So, I mean, I know Mark Carney's in with them today now, and saying no, you can't have our country. Fine neighbor of ours.
Yeah, I know, right? I know.
This is not the Gaza Strip. You can't just come in and take over.
Take over? I mean, he's a real estate developer. He just thinks he can take everything over. I don't know.
So it should be interesting.
It should be. We've had an interesting response. The U.S. has. I mean, his approval rating is probably the lowest of any president after the 100 days. I mean, it's been in 80
years. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, for me, it's difficult to see somebody kind of just use the American economy that way and like have no regard for the antics that he's pulling and the think that he's kind of using it as a lever, but it's really causing harm. And I think, a lot of people are just, honestly, I think people think he's full of crap. And he's gone back on it. So he has it can't be a true lever because he's gone back on his word a couple of times on it. So he's basically lost if it was truly leverage, I don't know how much power it has now. And so I don't know why he would screw with people like that, but I don't know.
And it is, in my little company, in my little way. I mean, sadly, I've been dealing with a great American company for 14 years now, purchasing from them for 12 years solidly. Done a huge amount of trade with them. They have the piece of kit I buy from them is extremely expensive, and it's also extremely good. It's fantastic. Yeah. But literally 3 weeks ago, I had to make that decision that we have to drop them because we can't run a global company. We're not a UK, we're not a UK company. We're global, and I can't sit here with 125% tariffs in China. Maybe the same happened in Hong Kong, Vietnam. Who knows? We need stability, and business is all about stability. You need to know where you go in the next 2, 3, 4 years. Exactly. So unfortunately for them, and I have to say I have so much respect for their amazing company. We've had to drop them 3 weeks ago, and now we've had to find another manufacturer. And the only advantage, if it is, it's 74% cheaper for me. So. I mean, it's good on my bottom line, but I'm a loyal person. I actually like when I'm working with somebody. Yeah. That's it. And when it's working, it's great. I don't tend to flip around just to save a few cents here and there. But as I say, after 12 years and actually 14 years of loyalty to this American company, we've had to just go right. Well, unfortunately, we can't run a company where we're hitting these sort of tariffs. So.
It's a deal breaker, right? At some point, and I've heard some companies say. When they did the Q1 comparisons from 2023 to 2024, Like
Yeah.
it's the same kind of number, 75% drop in profits. I mean, it's substantial. Like you're going to have to lay off people, and you're going to have to do certain things if and it's not so much that I think it's he did the tariffs and they pulled them back, and then this 90-day window, so everybody just assumes they're going to be there, so they're making plans to assume the tariffs are going to be in place. You have to. That's what you have to do. You have to do worst case scenario, and then if it doesn't come to be, then you're going to have, then you have the other, you made all gone to plan B, and now he just goes, oh, we're not going to do it now, and now you're having to reverse course, maybe or not, maybe not, maybe the damage is done. It's really kind of crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Industry right now.
I mean, for me, I'm sort of holding back on a lot of things, saying, well, once I know where there's once stability kicks in, and the problem is stability is going to have to kick in, because I don't believe the likes of JP Morgan and Vanguard and all these other people and BlackRock, who run the world, let's face facts, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to tolerate this much longer from them.
No.
At all. It's not going to be allowed, because they have to run these are too large to fail sort of organizations, and they can't be running like this. What I would say is, what we've seen today with Ford is a 1.5 billion write down in the profits, and I think I saw 900 million for Apple in just the effects of tariffs. Now, for them to get India up and running, and it's moving from Foxconn in Shenzhen to Foxconn in India now. But I'm sorry, this, no matter how good you are, and Tim Cook is good, you just cannot switch on. It's not.
Nobody can. It takes years to switch your supply chains. Like, it's not something that it's just. Oh yeah, I mean, you had to cancel your thing for that one company, but you had already had Plan B working in motion, right? You had to. So you couldn't disrupt your supply chain, and it takes like 6 months to a year to get another supplier up and running to the pace you want them to be at. I mean, it's pretty disruptive. It's like, I know.
Well, I do think that post pandemic, when we're trying to orient ourselves back on our feet again and back to some sort of normality, it's just been too short a period for us to sort of re-kick back in and say, well,
no,
How
do you think it affects the real estate industry? Like, I mean, over here they're predicting recession just from the disruption and the chaos that's happening. Even if it doesn't come to fruition, everybody's now predicting a recession here. So, do you think it's the same over there?
I think we're down. I mean, our projections are down to sort of a 1% growth, and 1% is just BS. I mean, that's nonsense.
That's zero.
What I am seeing, what we're hearing here is that interest rates will probably fall harder and faster because of the effect of the tariffs. Except what I'm also hearing, and I may be wrong, is that U.S. interest rates are not going to be falling at the same rate they're expected to fall at in the U.S. But what are you hearing?
Yeah, so I hear a lot of that there's this weird kind of anomaly happening where bond rates it's going to be kind of the bond rates are going to stick, and then you're still going to have this like an inflation, and so it's going to be this weird. Everybody's predicting kind of stagflation. But there was a conversation yesterday about it. Our people were talking through some of that stuff, and they were like the bellwether tech stocks that have been doing super well, like Palantir, right? And they had the CEO talking about, how do you create value creation in this mess, right? And he's like, I mean, we're still trying, because we're still trying to create value and do returns to investors, but all the tech stocks are getting hit. They can't avoid what's happening in the industry. I mean, most of the tech companies at that stage, NVIDIA, Palantir, any of those guys, right? They're all global. Everybody's a global company now. We're not, I mean, even if I were to go get sensors or IoT devices or whatever, I'm not buying them in the US. They're coming from overseas. Like, this is like people, like, let's be real. And, it's just, no one knows, I think, but I think a lot of everybody in the stock market, it's getting hit. It's going up and down. People not sure what's happening. I find it interesting that the one thing that was really telling was that Elon Musk was saying that he thinks Tesla is going to have might not make it. I mean, it was pretty telling. That was a story that came out the other day. And there was floating rumors that Tesla was going to hire a new CEO.
Yeah. So yeah. But what's completely and totally confused me about Tesla is Tesla has a P ratio of 160. I mean, nobody has that. And I don't understand that. I mean, I know last week it was down to 120 P ratio, and today I looked back up to 160 P ratio. I'm like, how is a company that's? I mean, in Europe, it's the brand is just it's trash. And sales have fallen in Europe by over 50%. You just wouldn't buy one now because you'd be seen as a Nazi. If you want to buy a Tesla, you're a fascist, which is horrendous. I mean, it's just
it's a PR nightmare for them for sure.
It is. I'm sitting there going, how have you got the highest PE ratio for any stock I can see?
I don't. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
So I don't know where these cars are going to turn into rockets, and we can just go straight to Mars and back again on one charge for an EV battery.
Probably. I think his battery. I think what's saving Tesla are the batteries, and as more and more industry is starting. I don't know. I mean, I don't. The cars is like a majority of their revenue. So the battery, the new battery part that they're doing, and the robots and the other things that Tesla's producing, those are very small, revenue lines. But I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I mean, my whole view on that is I think BYD is the real one that's innovating. So BYD is actually heavily invested in by Berkshire Hathaway. And he doesn't, let's face facts. Warren doesn't make mistakes. Warren knows what he's investing in, and he invested in BYD a long time ago. And that company, I've seen it grow massively, and they are really innovating on batteries. I think they're now close to launching a battery that will fully recharge in 5 minutes, which is just incredible. It's always going to be the big change.
Yeah, the Milken Institute is having their annual conference, so a lot of people are there in LA right now. And the big news is Warren's retiring. And
yes, taking a retirement at 92, is it?
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, that's awesome. I want to work till I'm 90. I'm going to work till I'm 120, Paul. I'm working.
Well, actually, on this side of the pond, we have launched today. David Attenborough has launched a new movie about the oceans, and he's 99.
Wow, really?
Yeah, he's 99.
That's my hero. That's what I want to do. That's
when
awesome.
That man dies, we have to have a state funeral. I'm afraid I don't think there's a human being in the world that's had a more extraordinary life than that man. He's incredible.
Oh, I know.
But, 99 and he's still working.
Well, so Warren's not going to stop working. He's just not going to be CEO. He's just going to be a chairman, right? Exactly. So he's gonna work part time now.
Retirement isn't a good thing. Anyway, listen. Let's get back on.
All right, let's get back on the real estate. Let's get back on the property stuff. So we've had some different news stories come out. I really wanted to talk about, the real estate industry hasn't really, or I think it's starting to do some more AI automations, right? They're trying to get there. We do want to add, before we switch subjects, we do need to talk about our lovely show we're having at the end of this month. So we do need to push that. So let's talk about that.
Oh my goodness.
So,
yes.
So I'm super excited. On May 28th, y'all, at 9 a.m. Central, we'll have the announcements coming out today. First of all, our show tomorrow is going to be super awesome. Our show tomorrow is I have the chief economist from CBRE. I have the chief economist from BGO. I have a former congressman who's now a real estate developer. And I have the senior vice president of government relations for NAREIT. And they're going to be on our member meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. And we're going to talk about we're going to talk about all the things happening in politics, but we're not going to talk about the orange dude specifically.
The orange fella.
The orange fella. So we're talking about, but we're having to navigate real estate headwinds, and we need to figure out how we're going to do that. So these guys, because they're in economics and they're in politics or former politics, they can speak freely about what's happening in Washington and how we can navigate that stuff. So that's going to be super cool. So that's on May 7th. And then our show with Paul and I, we're going to do a really cool thing, really discussing how technology can reduce insurance costs. And that's a big topic for everybody in real estate. And that is May 28th at 9 a.m. Central at
It is.
Square. If you are a PropTech Council member, you're going to get that invite. And if you're not a PropTech Council member, you should join. So there you go.
Get out your checkbook. Yeah, and it's interesting. So what we're looking at really is what we're referring to as data-driven risk reduction.
Right.
So how we can actually get the data that's running the buildings, and then once the building is happy with how it's running, use that as leverage with its brokers to lower the insurance premiums. And really, it's a win-win for everybody. You know, yeah. If you and I are a similar age, or you look far younger than me. If we're broken insurance today, if I'm monitored from head to toe 24 hours a day, well, then the risk for the insurance company is far less than not knowing what exactly is in that blue mug of yours today. Is it vodka or is it tea or coffee? And it's the insurance companies having the finger on the pulse of what's happening in that building, knowing what happens, and taking all of the data that's out there nowadays and just going, right, if I know your building's been run properly, if I know you've got full evacuation systems, all your fire systems are working, et cetera, you know, every breach of security is digitalized, well, then my risks are going right down. And we're pulling the insurance companies by the neck and going, come on, let's move on. And hopefully we're going to bring.
Oh yeah, they so do that. They're great about being pulled by the neck. No, I think it's something that I think it's a topic for them too. I mean, like, we'll have the guys from InsurTech on, and they've got to kind of beat into the industry, and we have somebody from an insurance company coming, so it's awesome. And I think it's going to be a really cool conversation where we're really trying to solve the problems using technology, which is what we should all be doing, right? And being smart about how we can handle risk or mitigate risk. And if we can mitigate risk using technology, then of course premiums should come down, right? I mean, that the insurance companies want to, keep in business, because once you figure out how to mitigate risk, one insurance company is going to lower the rates and everybody else is going to have to keep up. And so otherwise you won't get any business, right? So
it's the same as the cars. If you got a tracker device in your car, you expect lower insurance premiums, etc. So it's the same. And I think there's some interesting things happening. We're working on some other projects at the moment on what we're calling the golden thread policy over in the UK. So after we had the Grenfell disaster where 72 people died, the woman, Dame Judah Hackett, who took over that inquiry, basically said, don't wait till the end of my inquiry. Here's my recommendations. Get off your backsides now. Start working on this. Do not wait for legislation to go through Parliament.
Yeah.
Warning to you all, you're not doing a good enough job. And the golden thread really about from when the architect starts to where the whole process goes through to when you hand over the building to who's running the building. There's a handshake between each of those parties to say that I have checked that this is all working, et cetera, and being maintained. So if something goes wrong, you know exactly who's there, and they will be prosecuted.
Right. So the chain of custody goes all the way back to the beginning. Everybody can be sued.
Yeah, and well, I mean, we don't have as such a litigious culture as the US, but over here, really need, basically people just seem to think they can get away with what they can get away with. It's a culture of do as little as you can, and that just isn't. It's not any longer. And sadly, it takes something like 72 people dying in the building for anyone to do the right thing. But hopefully now, nearly 7 years, is nearly 8 years this year. Since that fire, we're finally going to see something happen.
So, and this was, I mean, there's been lots of catastrophes with buildings, right? So the thing that happened down in the beach of Miami, where the whole building collapsed, that was horrible. There's been others, and it's just from maybe it was built right at the time. The building codes have changed, right? Because we were dumb, 20 years ago. We thought a 2x4 should expand like a 20-foot span, right? We thought, oh yeah, they'll be great. They won't sag. It'll be awesome. Or we had really stupid building codes, and then we realized over time, oh, that was dumb, and we need to switch it. But you're not going to go back and retrofit every building to the most current codes, right? And so you have to. There's going to be interesting phenomena. But I think the cool thing about how AI can do inspections now, and you can use drones, and it can be super fast and get out and spot problems and see if you can reinforce certain things. I think that changes the game even from an insurance side, right? It changes the game.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the new LiDAR cameras coming out, video cameras are just incredible. And what would take forever, it can get done very, very quickly. And you process it through the systems, and it'll tell you where you got your issues. And that's what we got to get to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can use your phone. You can use your iPhone and take it. I mean, we use phones and drones when we do data capture. And you can take your iPhone and it can measure out a building for you and build a 3D model and do all these different things from a phone. Right. And then imagine, and then some of the drones have really good like thermal imaging and really good. The cameras are what's important, right? You got the things flying around. That's super cute. But the cameras now, the camera technology that's coming out now that can, and the AI associated with it can spot anomalies or spot problems or know what to look for. That's getting super cool. Like for bridges now, you can do bridge inspections. And it'll go and it'll tell you exact structurally kind of, oh, you got a problem here, right? It's getting super cool now. That hopefully bridges don't collapse anymore, buildings don't collapse anymore. We shouldn't have, 72 people die in a fire because, we had in San Antonio, Texas, there was a fire responder that a fireman died because somebody walled off an exit wall. And should have never happened. He had old blueprints. He thought there was an exit at this one end of the building because they were using old blueprints, and somebody had walled it off, and he died because of that. And that should never happen, y'all. That should just never happen. But it's stories like that where people do stupid things in buildings that cause problems. And, having the ability to keep up, making a building live and keeping it up to date and understanding what's inside that building is hugely impactful.
It is. Yeah. I'm on one of the UK committees where we're really bringing together, I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of people with expertise in the sector to get a consensus about how we go forward and what is the blueprint for not only managing, but actually writing out what the surveyors need to do when they're going into meetings, into surveying buildings. And it's just getting all these hundreds of people together, getting all their opinions, and then funneling it down to what do we really need to know, how do we need to communicate that, and how do we report it back. So that was my bank holiday yesterday. Actually, I spent most of my day on working on documentation, how we filter down these learnings of the last few months to move forward with this whole golden thread sort of certification solution. But it's interesting times. In the US, I'm seeing a lot going on about distressed property. So tell me more. Is this becoming an issue, or is it just a blip?
I think it's starting to become an issue, as I think it's everybody's anticipating. We've been like dancing around a recession for I don't know how long we have. I mean, it's 2023.
We've been in 2008 for the last few years.
I know, right? I mean,
it's learned in 2008 was never show that you're going to fall out of business. Be the last man standing.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of people now, because of the craziness that's happening in Washington, really fully expecting that we were fragile. And I don't think he realized we were fragile. And because we were fragile, any sort of shakeup is going to cause a ripple effect. And those ripple because of that, we've been in a real estate recession since, I don't know, 2022, 2023. I mean, it's been difficult, like with inflation and how most of the financings were done. And it's very difficult to refinance now because the valuations are lower. And we've been in this for a little bit. So from the real estate perspective, we've been in a recession, but we haven't been in a full blown one. But now I think everybody's expecting that we're going to get there. So I think it's definitely an interesting time. So real estate entrepreneurs are they're opportunistic. And so they're going to go create these funds. So yes, there was talk of creating all these distressed asset funds like in 2023, 2024, and they've done, and some people went and created them, but now it's starting to, I think the more evidence you see that more people are able to raise funds for distressed assets, that they really anticipate that there's a full recession coming, right? So
Brookfield's on the big acquisition trail. They've raised, what was it, 6 billion or
6 billion?
like
But yeah, I know it's not small.
Mm.
It's not small. Everybody's looking for half price real estate. We all want high price real estate, man. This is what we want. And I'm starting to see some of it. And I bet you money. So there was this. There were these GSA is auctioning off buildings now. So from Doge, the effective Doge, and they're auctioning off all these so there was even in Austin, Texas, a building that's a tenth of the value. I was looking at this auction, and it's about what the steel and the glass is worth. I mean, it was it's amazing to me that they're auctioning it off at that. But yeah, so there's a lot of, I'm starting to see GSA auctions, so maybe that's some of it. But office, across the U.S. is, I don't know. I mean, even Austin, Texas, which was doing really well, the vacancy is about 25% now in office, which is not bad.
Starwood is dropping, is dumping a lot of its Austin property offices, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, and then you've got, I think it's just, we'll see how inflation sticks around. And if inflation sticks around, it's going to be more difficult to travel. People aren't going to go to different places. Anecdotal evidence is, I think people want to, but I think there's going to be a more there. There was this resort in Austin that my kid went to for a birthday party, and it was packed. It was full of people on a Saturday, but they were all local people. There were nobody traveling to it. So I think the staycation things or the local resort things might be busy because people can't travel. I don't know. That's totally anecdotal, but I think that might be what the case. So that does not bode well for the hospitality industry. We'll see. I don't have any stats to back that up, but I think it's going to be an interesting time through 26, right? I mean, can we make it? My multifamily properties are still not doing well. It's in a tough spot, but that's because we bought in the wrong part of the cycle. It is what it is when you buy at the wrong part of the cycle.
Absolutely. I mean, are interest rates still the biggest issue you have from the early days of planning?
Yeah, for sure. It's if the prices haven't adjusted, so you have this weird anomaly where there's not a lot of inventory because a lot of people have cheap paper and they're not going to move because where are they going to go? Are they going to go buy a house at 7% or 6%? Maybe not when you have a mortgage at 4 or 3 or 2.5. Why would you do that? Even though they might have to move, it's a very hard pill to swallow. So,
one of the bigger issues we're seeing here in the UK is not so much interest rates. It's the new legislation on handover buildings and what's called the Gateway 2 legislation, and the people who are running these signing off these legislation, just not signing it off. They're going. It's delaying properties by months and months and months, and this is when they have men on the ground digging, and they're stopping it, and it's just causing so many issues here. So that is the biggest issue we're seeing in the UK at the moment. It's just this Gateway 2.
The building permits, getting the permits done. Interesting. Yeah.
They've gone really hardline on it, and well, they needed to, quite frankly, because what was actually happening was you were having surveyors sign off buildings that were not completed, where nothing was checked properly, and they got caught out, and then the authorities have come in hardline on it. So now nothing is getting signed off, and the problem with that is it's now really, really costing the bottom line. So if you expect to, put your properties on sale tomorrow, and you're now going to wait 3, 4, 5 months after you finished it, that's not the business plan.
Yeah,
so one of the biggest issues we're seeing over here now. And again, this is where we really see the opportunity for technology in AI. In actually, while the building is being constructed, you're running your surveys, you're running your AI machines, you're checking you're cross collaborating. It's where we got to go. And I think, if anything, I mean, I did see an interesting article I was reading the other day that the entire construction industry over the last 20 years has only ever increased its productivity rate by an average of 1% a year.
Really?
I mean,
that's it?
1% a year. I'll send it to you.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know.
Absolutely
Yeah.
shocking.
Yeah, so there was a somebody reached out to me because we build digital twins, and for a use case in construction, what I found was really interesting was so the subs all use different systems. They all like you have the plumber uses this, and the electrical company uses that, and the whoever, all the trades, all the carpenters, everybody, if they have a system. Sometimes they don't even have a system, and so they're all using different things. So when you're managing changes that happen on site, it's super difficult. It's super difficult to manage. It's super difficult to understand how it was built. And I'm an old GC. I know like the plans say, yes, we need to build it this way. And sometimes things happen and it doesn't get built that way. Ta-da, like shocker.
Yeah,
Like this,
yeah.
but this concept of can we have a true as built as it's being built? Can we do some of this thing? So there was one of the things we were talking about. It's like, yeah, I mean, we could just stick a drone on site and have the drone run around and map everything out as you're building it. I mean, that is
There's a great company I work with very, very closely. CEO is George Stevenson from a company called Active Plan. They go in with 3D cameras, and they have taken almost every damn product you could ever imagine putting into a building, and they do asset registry. So they go in with that camera, and it literally the AI now says that is that particular product, and it pulls the entire manual. It's really good. It's really good. I'm just introducing some stage. It's
he's
absolutely on the right track. Great credibility with what they're up to, yeah. But as I say, this takes it. I think he said he's saving with the way they're doing it now with the 3D cameras. It's about 1/8 the time to do an entire building.
So for sure, yeah, for sure.
A lot of hard work's done in the foundations of what he's built, but now it's really just an amazing way to digitally asset register everything inside your building.
Yeah. Which is super useful from an operational standpoint, understanding what's under warranty from a maintenance standpoint. No, it's great.
Exactly.
For sure. No, that's great technology.
So, I mean, I am hoping. I mean, I always think the best things happen in a crisis, right? We get a vaccine built in less than a year. When COVID hit, that could never have happened 5 years ago.
Yeah.
This is maybe the time for the property sector to really realize, okay, you know what? This has been a perfect storm. Now we can innovate a way out of this. And actually, now is where I think AI and some of the really, really, I mean, you're surrounded by it. I'm surrounded by great companies who are innovating here. And what I'm saying to all of them is it's all about collaboration. I mean,
it is.
You just got to be the best of what you do and work out how you collaborate together and make things happen. Because I think
make your stuff integratable, because it's going to have to be, and don't you can't build a point solution that doesn't integrate with anybody, or you're going to be dead in the water. You can't do it. Yeah. And then hopefully, I mean, now that they're coming out with this new file type, I don't know if you've seen it, but it allows you to port a 3D model to another system. And that's super useful, especially, I mean, like we're all doing cartwheels over here in digital twin land. But, using whatever system you want to go to capture the data with, you can use this one file type and it can port into another 3D model. And that's going to save, as far as capturing live data, that's huge. And so that's really, really cool to have that kind of file type. There's more and more improvements that are coming, but as more people start, it's the same thing that we've always done in software. We've always had to in technology is how do you capture it? How do you, maintain it? And then, how do you operate the data part, right? How is that happening? And 3D modeling was difficult because, you had Revit and CAD and AutoCAD and all this other different file types. But if you're going to go capture a building that doesn't have any sort of blueprints whatsoever, and you're doing it with LiDAR, how are you going to turn that into a 3D model that can be transported into a system that you can use it with, right? So that's cool that they're coming out with a new file type now. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I did see one thing about retail in the US. So you're saying that right now the retail side of things there's a low vacancy rate. Is that right?
It is. And so we're going to have next week, we're going to have a couple of retail guys on the show, which will be super cool to have. And they can kind of talk through it. It surprises me that retail has been so resilient here, except for maybe a couple of malls like that have gone under. The retail is still kind of busy. People, even though people want to shop or do whatever, or it's even they're using it like delivery points, right? I'm going to go, like I just did the other day. I ordered my cap and gown for whatever, and instead of having it delivered to my house, they just had it delivered to the store because it was free. And so I would go to the store. I just went down, it was on my way to school, and so I went down to the store and picked it up. No big deal. I think those delivery options, any way to get more people into the store, maybe they happen to buy something else along the way, but retail's been kind of resilient. I have not seen it, the major vacancy in retail at all. I think they're figuring it out, how to be this hybrid experience for shoppers, right? And I think I think that's good for the industry. They pivoted. Everybody thought that they were going to die in COVID. Everybody thought they were going to die, and everything was going to go to online shopping. And the retailers had to really look deep and hard at themselves, going, okay, how can we stay in business? And they adapted pretty quickly. And I think it's been really cool. They embraced online. They made it a hybrid model. They figured out how to do it. They make money both ways, but they keep their stores open and they offer experiences and they do other things. And I think it's really brilliant the way they did that, for sure.
What we've seen here in the UK, especially, what I've noticed is the F&B side of this has really increased in terms of proportionality of the rentable space.
What's F&B?
Food and beverages, restaurants.
Okay, food and beverage. Okay, all right, gotcha.
And I think that's where it's become more of an experience. But look, I've always said this: there's nothing makes a woman feel better than walking with some nice bags in a mall, right?
It's retail therapy. I'm telling you, it's all we do over here.
Yeah. Whereas most men just do not want to go there. Yeah, that's like, but this is where I never really believed the complete death of the high street, because I'm sorry, but not being sexist here, but women do like to shop. Okay,
we do. It's all good, and men like to shop too. You get your retail therapy every once in a while too. No,
most men go, oh God, I'm gonna have to do it. So they'll do it all in one go, and hopefully I'll do it for next year.
That's funny. Yeah, no, that's hilarious. Yeah, no, I think it does, and it, and I've seen some really cool technology in the retail stores where you can, or you can even have these 3D models where you can try it on before you buy it, right? And some of those, I've been into some of them, where they have those mirrors where you can and then you don't have to go inside of a dressing room. You can kind of see it or whatever. It's pretty cool. I'm trying to bring the experience of online inside the stores, but they have to, it's like, they have to have the latest tech. It's got to be super cool. They have to have the latest experience. And I think more and more will kind of gravitate there, which is okay. I mean, I think it's okay. I mean, if you're getting people out to the mall to shop, I mean, it's not necessity shopping really. It's maybe it's people are lazy and they don't want to wait for the online till they'll go to the store, which is kind of crazy to me. I think Amazon will deliver in a day or two. But but it's still the touch and feel, the experience. It's shopping. It is. And
a lot of the shops, the brands are so strong. Their interiors are so good. And there's some great technology. There's a company, one company I work with over in California, Pather AI, who sort of use the whole psychology of literally how you should lay the store. They use cameras to work out the flows and where the staff should be placed to get best impacts. And there's so much psychology goes into retail now that it's definitely an interesting area. And even you look at Amazon. I have to be honest, I like most people buy far too much on Amazon, but I mean, I was in a mall this weekend and it was absolutely ramped with people. It was really busy.
Yeah. And I think it's also they're getting smarter about their locations and understanding the population to store ratio, if that makes sense. So I think is if you change the game a little bit, it would be really interesting. Hopefully we'll get Lee Jackson or Jesse from so there's JLL's Retail Service Advisory. They do technology for retailers. And hopefully it'll come next week. And I really want to talk, but this is a really cool topic around, it used to be you had your stores per 5,000 people or 10, depending on the kind of retailer you were, you knew you would locate based off of geography. And back in the day when I was a multifamily developer, I would follow the banks. Like if Chase Bank opened a location in a certain area, I looked for properties in that area. I was just borrowing the expertise of those real estate teams because they knew the demographics I wanted. They knew, so I was just like, oh, they're opening a new location here. Oh, I need to go get a multifamily development there. Or I needed to go do something, buy a property in that region because they did a really good job of understanding their customer profiles and finding the best locations or path of progress or whatever. They were great. That's how I used to do it back in the day, but I can't cheat and do that anymore because they're changing their models. And so it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Are the banks in the US, the banks all deleting getting rid of the
they're small. There's still locations. A lot of people are consolidating. There's a lot of consolidation in the retail industry too. And so they're not as many locations and they kind of it's kind of out in the US. It's outlet or mall based. There's strip centers a little bit, but I think it's interesting. There's not as many stores, so maybe that's why the vacancy rate is small because they're getting really smart about how many stores do we actually need to have and open, right? It's pretty interesting.
Absolutely. I did see also that Deloitte had taken on 800 square feet in New York now.
Who?
Deloitte.
Oh yes, I know. It's like, are we going to do office again? I don't know. Maybe it's just as cheap. It's cheap, but it's cheap space and people being opportunistic, right? And so maybe that's
the move from Rockefeller down to where?
No, they're moving down to. Is it Hudson Yards? I think that's where.
Hudson Yards, yeah,
probably.
So is it the price is quite reasonable in Hudson Yards, or is there?
No, I don't know if it's that. I think there's been, when I talk to my office brokers, there's been kind of a flight to because everything got cheaper, so I can my dollar buys more, and so I think people are just upgrading because Hudson Yards is a new development. So I think people are there's a flight to quality, and so you can. You can afford more now because all the prices are getting cheaper. So anybody who was in a Class B office space can now afford Class A. And so they're all kind of moving. They're moving up that
Interesting. way. The Deloitte always, certainly in Europe, their offices in Europe are always spectacular. Always.
Oh, are they?
There's one called The Edge in Amsterdam. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's a fantastic building. And actually, we did One New Street Square here a few years back, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It's an amazing building, absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So from a smart building perspective, since that's kind of your expertise is, and now what is the big focus that you're seeing? I mean, you have your part where you help on fire response and all that other stuff. Is it energy modeling? Is it what's the smart building solving problems? Their main problems they're solving today.
Well, the big thing we're focusing on now is really pulling in other great technology companies inside a whole sort of umbrella. So we're trying to, I haven't got the time or the inclination to go and try and be an expert at something else. So I mean, we're still sort of fully focused on occupancy and the impact of occupancy because, post COVID, let's face facts, we went to the office 5 days a week. We don't anymore. And certainly, the DNA that we're seeing in each floor of a building differs all the time. And a lot of it is down to the culture, the business that occupies that floor. It's down to a lot of outside. I mean, everything from weather to bank holidays to you name it. It affects the occupancy. But most of it is the DNA we see building up in a floor of a building, or what we call the DNA is really what we refer to it. And with that, once you can predict what's going to happen in advance, then you can start doing some smart stuff. Then we start working with people who really control BMS systems. Say, look, tomorrow looks like X. So therefore, because it looks like X and it's a Wednesday, and therefore we know that on a Wednesday, this week of the year, this is what your occupancy is going to be like. And because we know it's going to be overcast and there's no sun going to be coming into any aspect of the floors, this is what we should be doing. And I think this is where we're trying to just get smart on something. Work with the people who really know how to control the BMS and say, in this scenario, what would you do? So where we're trying to get to is work with lots of companies to get buildings to think for themselves. So the building is actually knowing what is going to happen, and therefore set itself up to, there's no point if the temperature right now is 32 degrees in the office. Well, the building can't just instantly get it back down to 22 or to 23, whatever it wants to be set at. But if we can tell it this is what's going to happen, then it can start thinking for itself. And we're working in a new company now called Helvar on lighting and very sort of forward-thinking Finnish company. Not finished, okay, from Finland. It's a place in Europe. I mean, you wouldn't know it.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Thank you.
So,
I know you think all of us Americans are Neanderthals, but no, I know where Finland is.
Well, yes, but what we're doing with them is saying, look, if we can start telling you when the whole floor now or part of the floor is empty or the building's empty, how we override your systems, and so that's sort of what we're doing with them. Again, I'm not going to get into building a lighting company or building a HVAC company, but it's all it's putting two and two together and getting six every time.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, I always believe in partnerships. I think those are the greatest things. I mean, we have partnerships with a lot of different people, energy modeling. Oh, and which I should really introduce you to her. She's a new member of the council and working with a professor at the University of Arizona. And they're coming up with really cool ways to do faster energy modeling, which is like, it's great. It's really cool to be in the council because you get to be on the forefront of all the cool things that people are developing and working on and the things they're passionate about, which is great. And I'm like, yeah, you go. That's awesome. You do that. It's great. Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting times. It's very interesting times. So overall, what's your finger on the pulse of where the US is today, this week?
I think everybody is adopting technology slower than everybody would like. I think there's because I think it's just so much uncertainty. So everybody's just kind of, the mood I feel is everybody's just kind of hanging out. We're just kind of hanging out and waiting, and we're going to see. I think some people see it as an opportunity. So those distress funds obviously are raising capital, and I think everybody's just kind of waiting, and it's not good when an economy's waiting. It's not good for anybody when anybody's just kind of sitting on their hands and not doing a whole lot. And so, but the prop tech companies keep innovating, and the people that can kind of see it or they have the expendable capital will kind of use it. And unless you're in an industry like I'm focused on, which is critical operations, they don't have time to wait for anything. So, they're not going to. But and I think it'll be interesting to see the major shifts from where office ends up. I still think that's a big question mark. I don't think anybody knows. And that's been a big question mark since 2020, and we're 2025, and we still don't know where office is going to go. I think it's interesting, but we can't ignore the orange fella. He's just too big to ignore. And so he's gonna. He's
too big. His ego's too big to ignore.
Yeah. But the disruption, I think, is not good for anybody. But we'll see what he's trying to do, and any sort of positive impact from some sort of trade war like this, I think it's a long game, and I don't know if he doesn't have the runway for that long of a game. So I don't, it's kind of interesting, but I guess he just assumes that his partner will become president after him. And I think that's kind of what he's betting on. So I don't know.
I did hear he's looking at resigning and being president. I know it was breaking news. I should have announced on CBS, but I do hear he's looking to try and be the Pope. Jeez.
I didn't think he was Catholic.
Honestly, you can't make it up. We sit over here this side of the pond, and we go, "Oh God, he's awake. What next?"
Well, there's just still a lot of people that I don't know why. There's a lot of people that believe that he's doing the right thing, and so he's still in. He's in office. He's who we got, and hopefully, some of the craziness can get mitigated by people. The courts are doing their darndest to kind of mitigate his impacts, and that's why we have three branches. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's pretty interesting. I think for us over here, we're still wait and see. It's unfortunate that we have to be in wait and see. I was hoping by now we could get out of it and then just kind of move forward and kind of get a trajectory, but we're still in wait and see mode, which it's unfortunate. for us.
So I heard Mark Dixon this morning on radio. He's the CEO of Regis and all these, and he was actually saying that they're seeing more people come back to the office.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing that happen, but seeing it that people are not willing to travel an hour into an office any longer. They want to do it, work in an office, but more local to where they are.
Yeah. And I think, I think that's great for co-working for sure. Yeah. And I think people, I think their employers are okay with it, right? As long as they're in an office somewhere or allowing that. I think that becomes like an extension, like a benefit to working at a certain place is that we have this co-working membership and you can go work there. I think that just becomes that, or it becomes an extension of the office. I think that stays. I don't think that goes away. I think COVID permanently changed how we work, for sure. And most of the offices will have to kind of turn into some sort of co-working thing. I think a lot of the multifamily people are embracing that too and adding co-working as a part of a function of the multifamily environment too. Yeah.
We've seen some interesting projects here in the UK where it's, multifamily, but then a whole floor, which is offices. It's been I've seen some interesting projects here over the UK. I've been very, very impressed with what I've seen. I want to ask you about Flow. Newman, because
we have to talk about Flow.
Really?
No. We can talk about that guy. I just don't like that guy.
I literally can't stand him. I met a COO in New York about 10 years ago, and I walked out going, I've never heard such rubbish in all my life. So these guys are.
Oh, you actually met him? Oh,
No, I met a COO, but I met him in the New York office, and I walked out going, I literally walked out thinking that these guys are smoking the wacky backy.
Yeah.
I look at what he did, and he made absolutely billions.
I know.
On fictitious valuations.
Yeah, I just when he started Flow, I think I just got super angry because Andreessen Horowitz, which is a great bellwether investor, invested in Flow, and I was just like, that. Why would you give that guy any legitimacy at all? Like, why would you do it? But from an investor standpoint, the guy's able to raise money. He's got a good story. Somehow he gets people to believe in him. He kind of sounds like Trump. I don't know. And somehow he gets people to believe in him. And from an investment standpoint, you want to make money, right? So Adam Newman might make you money. And so therefore you're going to, I don't know. It irks me that they gave him money after he had such a horrific failure with WeWork. Like just horrible. Why wouldn't he be blacklisted? But not only was he not blacklisted, he got a major investor, like the primo investor, if you want to get invested in him in Flow. And
he's up to $2.5 billion valuation now. And I'm like, what?
He's up a what? I don't. Yeah.
$2.5 billion valuation for Flow. But I mean, what is it actually doing? I mean, I tried to dig around and it just was like.
So it's like. My understanding is it's like Sonder. It's like a bunch of the other ones where they're arbitraging rent and they're doing short-term rentals inside of multifamily. But Sonder went under, and a lot of the other ones that tried this model went under. And so I don't know if it lasts. And then Airbnb. By the way, if I could invest in this, I should probably be investing in Airbnb. Because they've got a really cool model. They're kind of flying under the radar and they're not doing much. And they're active in the multifamily space. Like they're hugely active there. They're just not telling anybody that they're active there. But I think if you were to look at the big dogs of people doing short-term rentals inside of multifamily, I think it's Airbnb is really who's doing it. But I think Flow, that's what they were trying to do, was just take a multifamily, but the problem is, and it always has been, is that the lending community, and I faced this when I was an owner operator, doing short-term rentals inside of a multifamily it's not underwritten that way, gives the lender community heartburn. They don't like it. There's increased risk. You're bringing more people onto the property that you don't do credit checks on at all. And it's just interesting. It just changes it becomes more of a for them, from a risk mitigation standpoint, it's like a hotel versus multifamily, and they're just two different types of risk things, and they don't like it. They're putting up with it. So you can do like a 20% of your multifamily like that. They were willing to stomach 20% of it in short-term rentals back in the day when I was doing it in 2021, 2022, 2020. But other than anything over 20%, they were like, no. No, you have to do traditional multifamily. So, and I'm assuming that, I mean, that was Fannie Mae. So, and they have Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are the big lenders in the space. So, I think it's interesting to see, where that all goes. But yeah, that guy irks the hell out of me. I just.
No, we're on the same page there.
Yeah, and I probably because I'm jealous. I mean, it's like, dude, why won't you just give me, $5 billion, $10 million? Like me, I'm like a little more worthy. I've done a lot more things than Jerky Boy over there, but and I haven't defrauded anybody. Shocker.
I don't know. Yeah, I know. I'll say nothing. I'll say nothing.
You're going to say nothing. Well, look at this, Paul. We made it for a whole hour.
You and I. My God, we haven't even rowed yet properly, huh?
Oh, we haven't. And, it was super fun. It's always fun when I chat with you, Paul. It's always fun. This is super cool. I love this.
It's my favorite hour of the week.
Yeah, exactly. Well, next week, hopefully we'll get some more folks on here from different asset classes, and we'll have a cooler discussion. But I'm glad we're doing this again on Tuesday mornings. So we will get the.
And I look forward to my midnight call tomorrow night with you, by the way.
Oh, yes. Yes, I know. Well, I had to do it late because those guys are, busy during the day. I know, but it'll be.
It's fine. It'll make a man of me.
Well, awesome. Well, if anybody would love to get a hold of you, Paul Sheedy, how could they do that if they wanted to get a hold of you?
I'm not on Tinder. If you want to.
Well, you're married. Your poor wife.
No. I'm all over LinkedIn.
You are. The best place to get me too.
And eventually, I will answer your message. Yeah.
All right. This has been awesome.
It's been wonderful. Thank you again, Amy.
Next Tuesday.
See you soon. Bye now. Bye.